Hi y'all, this is Pam at Pink Dragonfly Wings, here with another Wondrous Wednesday video. Today we're going to make a little small travel type journal out of an envelope that has a window. Okay, here's the back. It has some various papers in there, and we're going to make this. Now, I saw this done somewhere online. Seems like maybe Treasure Books, but it was an old video, and so I've changed it up a little bit. This here in that particular version had a tag in it. I didn't really want the tag. I just wanted the window. So I have all of our stuff. It'll be a little different. If you want to see how they did it, go check their video out. And let's get started on making this one. Okay. So what we do first is we get us a notebook. Envelope. Now this envelope, this little book is 8.5 by 3 7/4. So we want our envelope to be, and I may have already cut it down. No, I haven't. So we're going to cut it down just a little bit. And the reason I wanted it to be 8.5 is because I wanted it to fit a sheet of paper that I have. It would make it easier when we get ready to put the pages and that kind of thing in there. So let me get my little thing here, my little cutter, and we'll just cut that off just a little bit so that our papers will fit in there without having to be cut too much. Now then, on this one that I made, let me just go ahead and undo it. I left blank paper on the inside that you could use for journaling. Now on this one, I had thought that I would use this little flap here to make a pocket on the inside, like such. But I really can't do that without messing up our thing here, unless I make 2 small pockets. But I'm not gonna worry about that today. We're gonna make it like this one, and we'll figure it out as we go. So the first thing that I did, and I'm going to eventually cover this in this tissue paper stuff that I got from Tim Holtz, I think. It is called Tim Holtz Ideology Collage Paper. And I have this one, and I have this one that has pretty flowers and stuff in it. And just because, and just to make it a little different, we may use this one today. This is brand new. So we may use the flowers and add a little color to it and see how that works. We may just do that. Okay. So we'll put this one aside. And if we decide to come back, we can certainly come back and rethink that project. So, but for now, we'll put this in here and put that aside. Now, what we're going to do, this is our paper for our inside. I'm going to lay this out. Well, we need to go ahead and cut this little flap off, because for now we're not going to make a pocket there. I will experiment with that later, and if I can see that it will work, we'll come back and do it again. So, but for now, we're just going to do it like this. This will be the front of our paper. And I have a little piece here that I'm going to put in the window right here on the back, just because I like that look, and I think it's really cool paper. So I'm going to use a piece of that to cover up the window. But for the beginning, we're going to start here on the outside. Now let's check out this and see. We do see some words through there, and we don't want that. So that's what we did on the last one. We used some book pages, and no big deal. We just covered up the envelope. Let's do it. We want our envelope window to be perfect. So let's put this. Now then, we're just going to get our glue. And I had a little piece of paper here the other day that I used for my glue nubbin. And I don't know. I guess I've thrown it away or done something with it or whatever. But I bet we can find another little piece of cardstock to use. I've got a plethora of little pieces of cardstock. Now on this first one, what I'm using here is Scotch tacky glue, and I'm not going to put that on there. I'll be taking that on and off. And I have my little paintbrush back here, and we're just going to collage this right up in this corner. Try to stay away from our window if we can. Don't worry about it hanging off of this side, because we're going to cut that off even when we get finished. But I do have a little bit on my window, so let me get that off before it dries. And then we're just going to go right on around and add some book pages. And the book pages mainly are to cover up this print on here, because our paper that we're using is pretty thin. And so we want to make sure that we don't see those envelope pictures. Okay, so we are going to cover this again with our pretty paper, but we don't want the envelope stuff to shine through there. So we're just going to cover it up, and we're going to collage it. And these pieces are pretty big. We're not trying to make fancy. We're really probably not even going to see much of this because it is going to be covered with the pretty paper when we get done. So now this glue does finish with a sort of a glossy finish, kind of like a glossy Mod Podge. But for some reason, I don't work well with Mod Podge. I just can't seem to get the knack of how it works. So I just use glue, and we'll put this little piece right here. I guess we could put it on the paper, and that would save maybe getting it in the window. Duh. I think of all kinds of cool things while I'm going that I didn't think of when I first started. Let's see here. Now, this, even though it curves in, I want it to be straight. So I'm going to overlap this here, because we're going to put a little backing on the back of it so that it shows through, kind of like this one. So it's got a little band back there to break it up a little bit. And so I want it to be straight. So we're going to leave a little overhang here so that it will, there we go. Let's put this piece at the top. Okay. I think that will be enough. Now, as far as these papers, the paper pages, I'll get it out in a minute. Doesn't really matter whether it's right side up, upside down, how, because it's going to be covered up. So we just want a border under here that we can, or not a border, but a background that we can see the printed words and not necessarily to properly credit your account. We don't want to see that. So we're going to put this right back here. This is not all the same piece of paper. I guess that really doesn't matter, but let's use this just because. And then this has two straight sides, so we can put this one right here. And I love the coffee dye look on the tops of these papers. I just think that's really cool. We're not going to worry if we have a little leaky right there that's not covered. It's not that big a deal. Let's put these down here in our little nubbin bucket. That one would be big enough to work. Let's get some more glue. Tummy's making funny sounds. I ate supper. I'm not hungry. But for some reason, it thinks it's still hungry. Tear that off just so we don't have an extra straight edge there. Put this one right down here. Now this glue dries pretty quick, so but when we get done I will kind of set it up just a little bit with the heat gun just to make sure. A couple of more little pieces there, and I think we'll have this ready. Let's see. Now, in the original that I watched, that I saw on YouTube, the person that made this used a napkin on the top of this, which was really cool. But I had this really cool tissue paper, and I thought, well, I kind of need to use that up, so let's use that. And the first one turned out really nice, and I like it, so we'll see how this one turns out with the other tissue paper. A little piece right there. Come on. And then we'll do this one right up here. Probably don't need to per se, but since everything else is covered, let's go ahead and cover it too. Okay. That works. Not bad. All right, let's heat it just a little bit to kind of even out some of these pages, some of these pieces. Make sure they're all glued down well. I'll turn it over here. We've left plenty of room here to make that a straight edge, so that'll be nice. One thing you do want to do, if you're using this envelope and you're using one of these return envelopes and you use a heat gun, don't get too close to that thing. We were making one, my grandson and I were making one the other night, and we melted it. So we had to start over. Melts very quickly too, I might add. So we're going to leave these edges on here, and we're going to start adding our tissue paper. And we're not going to do it in one piece. We're also going to do it in a collage type effect. So we'll put our pieces up here. Doesn't really matter how they look. We're going to cover them up. I mean, we're not going to cover them up, but we want them to look kind of haphazard. And that'll give us enough to get started. If we need some more, we can certainly tear off another piece. Now, I'm going to start right around this window. Let me get a sip of drink here. When I get to talking, my mouth gets so dry. So we'll get a little bit more glue here. And are we still in view where you can see what we're doing? I think we are. And this glue does kind of gum up that nubbin more than some of the other glues do. So I keep a little pen and just kind of clear it out a little bit every now and then. My pen over there, doesn't really matter where I put it. I won't be able to find it later. I wonder if we have a little glue spot in there, because it is not wanting to come out. Sometimes it gets on the inside, and we're not going to mess with that. We're just going to pour some out. Or better yet, we may just dip it out of the bottle. That works for me. Okay, so we'll use what we have here and go from there. Now, when she used the napkin, she did leave the napkin all in one piece and glued it down all at once, which saves a lot of time. But I really like the collage look, and so that's why I decided to go with it like this. I just like that look, and that's why. I don't know why, other than that. That's the way it goes. Let's see. We need a piece from, that's a little big, but we can put him down here. Try to get these straight edges done. Yeah, we'll just dip that out of the bottle, since the little caparoo is not wanting to cooperate with us tonight. So we will just work this way. probably should have cleaned my fingers a little bit. So let me get a baby wipe and do that and kind of clear that off a little bit so that they're not, this tissue is so easy to stick to. Plus, it might work a little better if I put the glue on here and do it this way. That might help. There we go. And this is a really pretty piece right here. So let's use this one. Put it with that little nubbin right up there. It's a pretty rose arrangement. Okay. Let's get this one down here. Now, since we didn't cut off the edges, we do know where, by following those edges of the book pages, we do know now where the edges are, so that kind of gives us a little bit better boundary, so we're not having to constantly guess on where we are. So now this is kind of wrinkling up just a little bit, but I think that when we blow dry or heat gun or whatever that thing is, in a little bit we'll be able to, it'll be able to lay out flat once this glue dries. So okay, let's turn this around this direction. We have a big piece here with a side. We're going to put a little more glue here and put this down. There we go. Very nice. I think we're going to need a little bit more paper. So that one will fit right there very nicely. I really like this tissue because not only does it have the pretty flowers on it, but it has some pretty nice script work done on it. And that kind of adds a little extra to it as well. Makes it look a little more dainty, a little more feminine, maybe, I guess you could say. The other tissue paper tends to be, could be a little more masculine, I guess. Not necessarily saying that it's masculine and all, but as a rule, flowers tend to indicate femininity. So there we go. Let's see, we have this pretty piece. Let's put that's a very big piece, so we'll put it over here because some of this is going to get cut off when we get ready to even up this side a little bit. So there we go. Let's see. Oh my poor Tommy. He's still crying. Let's pull this down. There we go. Now you can work the wrinkles out as you go, but some of the wrinkles are kind of cool, and I kind of like those. So, okay, can't really tell. It looks like we have that pretty well covered. So let's put the, oops, left that laying on its side. That was not a smart thing to do. Then it gets in my little cap creases, and then next time I can't hardly get the cap off. So let's try to clean this up just a second, because if we don't, it will be dried later. So there we go. Now then we'll cover that back. And that's good with that for a moment. Let's get that out of the way so I don't stick my elbow in it. And let's dry this a little bit. Again, remember to stay away from that window because it will melt. This glue is not quite as shiny as the glue is that I used on the other one, but it's still got a shine to it. So I don't want to glue that or dry that too much right now because we want to turn this over. And let's go ahead and trim off these edges so we know exactly where we are and what we're dealing with. And I'm just going to use my plain old scissors. I could use the cutter, but this glue is still wet, so I don't want to gummy up my cutter blade. And I can always clean up my scissors relatively easy, so we'll cut that off. So we want to go back and make sure that everything on the front. And then I'm just going to eyeball this. Okay, what let's do, let's fold this over. It's going to have to go over eventually anyway. And that will give us a good guide. Still tacky, so we want to be careful. And then we can just cut this off right here along this edge. Doesn't matter that it's not even. That's cool. Because we're going to put a piece of paper over this. But this can all go over here in the trash. And we do have a little bit not covered right there, so that's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see that it was covered or not covered, and we do need that covered, so we'll do a little bit more because it's not dry. So I'll just tear that off. We'll put another little piece right there. That'll work. We'll put this straight piece right there, and I think that will cover that. It does mean we got to open our glue up again, though. And this time I'm going to try to stand it up so it doesn't spill out. Okay. Put this all the way down here. Looks good. We have another straight piece here. We'll put this one right here. We want that to be strong right there, so because that's going to be our edge. Even though it is going to come out and cover a little bit, we still want it to look nice. Let's see, here's a little piece. And I think we can put that right there over that little hole, and that will work to hold that down. Okay, I think we have everything covered. Now I'm going to dry this really, really good, and before I get ready for the next part, then let's get it really good and dry, and then I'll come back and we'll pick up where we left off. See you in a second. Don't go far. Okay, I'm back, and I think we're pretty dry, so I think we can proceed forth. I think we're ready to go. So what we need to do is I got our paper here. This is our paper that we're going to use. This little folder flap, I came in 1 inch, and that is going to fit right along that crease. Sit right down in there. Okay, just like that. Then we fold this direction, and we have this little piece left over. Now we could bring it in somehow, do something, but I don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is probably cut that off. Now for this is for the window, and we're going to cut a little piece here. Let's go down a little bit and cut along this dark line here and up. We just need it big enough to cover the window. Okay. And like I said, in the original video that I saw, this was made into a pocket. And what you do is you just turn, before you put your paper on, you put right here, and you just put a little slit for your tag to go down into. But my particular preference was that we not have a tag. So I wanted to put this little piece of paper in there because all of the calligraphy and the writing and the type and everything on here, and then to put this behind our window, I think to me just looks really nice. We can pull it on up and have it about like that. So let's glue or tape. I'm going to tape this with my double-sided tape right down the edge of this window, all the way around on all four sides, right up to the edge. We don't really have to do anything to this piece of paper because it isn't going to be seen at all. So I'm going to put this right close down to the bottom of our window and lay it in there straight and tack it down. Okay, so that's what we will see through the window of our envelope. Okay, that's going to look awesome. The yellows in this pick up the yellows in our flowers, and I just think it looks really, really cool. All right, so I'm going to throw that in the trash. I want to ink around the edges before we put this all down because it's easier. Trust me. So I'm going to start here and do this little 1 inch all the way down. I don't like the white edges showing from the paper, so I like to ink those down really, really well. We'll go all the way around. This is 8.5 by 11 lightweight cardstock. So it picks up the ink really, really well. I'm not going to worry about this outside yet because we haven't cut it off. But we'll go around the top of this, make sure we ink it really well. We'll ink here where this is going to fold over. You'll be able to see it from the back and from the inside, so we want to make sure that's inked. And then we also want to ink this little inside where our spine is going to be. So we're just going to, I'm not a really neat inker, so that's okay. That's okay. So now then, because our window is covered, we don't have to worry about getting glue on our window, so we can cover this entire thing, right? So we're going to get our glue, and we're going to see if we can get it to come out of here this time, because it's easier this way. And, of course, it's not going to. Get our little pen here. Of course, I haven't used this little knobber for a while because we were taking the ink, the glue right out of the bottle, so I probably need to, when I get through with my projects tonight, take this upstairs and run some hot water through it, and maybe that will help a little bit. So that's just not going to work. Let's try using, let's see, I don't know if, well, now how did I manage to lose that pen that quickly? It's a good thing I have a stash of them. So we'll pull this little skin off of this and see if we can get it. It may be dried up. I just don't know. I haven't used this bottle in a long time. But I hear air, so that's a good sign. I hear air, and that's all I hear. So I'm not going to worry about it right now. Now I've lost the lid to that. So we'll just get our paintbrush, and we'll just do it. That wasn't the lid I wanted to take off, though. I want to take off this one. And we'll just do it with our paintbrush. I think that may be a little thick. That may be part of the problem. So anyway, we'll just glue it on here. We want it to go all the way to the edges. Make sure the edges are covered and this little seam in the center is covered. I think this glue has gotten a little thick, so we might need to put a little water in it, water it down really nice. But I'm not going to do that right now. That's something I can do later. And we'll get this glued on here really good and make sure we have plenty of glue. And there we go. There we go. Let's put this back on there so we don't need it any thicker than it already is. We'll take our little paper here. Make sure this is our back. This is our little flap that the back is going to fit on. So we want to turn this direction, line up our spine. Now this paper fits perfectly, so make sure you get it in your grooves and then just glue it down. Let's get some hand wash in here and a bone folder. And brush that to the edge. And we glued ourselves to the sack. That's okay. We're going to fold this over very neatly there. And we definitely want, let's turn this back over here. We definitely want to bone folder this edge because it's going to stick out a little bit. And that will work. We'll fold this in half. And we will use our bone folder on here to make sure that we get it good and creased. And then we want to turn this over and cut this flap off. But it's all glued now. It's all even. So we're not going to have to worry about it moving when we fold it. So we can take this little piece off. We have just a little nubbin up here, little sliver on the top of our book where our paper was just a little bigger. So at some point we probably cut a little extra off, or I didn't cut it straight, or who knows. But there, it's all evened up. Now we can throw this in the trash, and we have our little book finished up. Now then, the inside has been inked except here. I'm going to move this out of the way because we're really not going to need it anymore. Now I have 3 pens. A while ago I couldn't find one. Now I have 3. That's the way it works. We're going to go around here. We're going to ink this outside edge. We can see this kind of creased up a little bit, but that's okay because that's where our spine's going to be. Come back over here on this side, and we're going to ink all the way around the front. We did not do that a while ago because we didn't have it on there yet. We're going to do it now. Uh-oh, got a little piece of glue, little piece of paper there that didn't get glued down. So we're going to glue that, make sure it sticks. We don't want it to catch on anything later. Let's put that in the water so it can kind of be dissolving off of there. Go around the edge. I really like this edge on this paper with this red, sort of a red ink in it. and it picks up the red in our roses so beautifully. I like this. I think it turned out nice. Okay, and then we're going to go down our spine just so that it looks the same on both sides. When you look at it, you don't want this side over here to be inked and then to look and that side not be. So okay, now then we have 2 more things to do before we get into our pages. And what have I done to not let that? Oh, I just wasn't holding it right. Now somewhere on this table I had some lace, and I really liked it for the other one that we used. So here it is. Because we're going to outline this window, we want to accent that and make that kind of a focal point for the front of our front of our cover, of our journal cover. So when I did this a while ago, I did, here's a little edging, a circle, and it, I guess, I don't know what to call that, but anyway, I want to cut 2 of these like that. All right, and then I'm going to cut, let's see, how many? 4, I think 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then we're going to cut 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're going to cut it off even. So I want those ends to be even, these ends to have the nubbins on the end. We'll cut 1 more. So we have 2, 1 for the little top, 1 for the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the side. And then we'll glue these down. Now I'm going to glue the top and bottom nubbins down first. And this is the front, the back. Now I use Fabri-Tac because we are using lace, and Fabri-Tac works really well with fabric. So we're going to put it right there and center that right over that window. Okay, then we'll do the bottom one. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell which is the back and which is the front. And we'll put this one down here. And I'm just covering up the edge of that window. We'll do one side. Okay. And then I'm going to put the beginning ones over that little nubbin. Okay, so I want to center it right over that little nubbin from the first piece. So it makes a nice little square. And we'll do the same on the other one. I think that this window might have been a smidgen shorter than the one that I originally made. And I just use those measurements, but I would rather do it this way because I don't want to have to cut one of our little circles off and cut it in half, because then it's gonna kind of lose its effect. So we'll do it like that. And that covers it up. It makes it look really nice and pretty. And we have a nice focal point around our window, and I like that. Now you can use your ink and you can kind of dirty that up a little bit if you want to, but I think for this one and the pretty flowers, we're going to leave it. So we have one more thing. We need a, I want to put this somewhere. I don't know where because I'm going to need it in just a second. But right now we need an eyelet. So let's see. Maybe a pretty gold one would look nice. So we can use that one. Okay. And get our eyelet setter. I use the crocodile too, so I'm going to use the big 3/16, I think is what it is, and I'm going to eyeball and center a hole. About right there. Push that down, put our eyelet in, center that in that little nubbin inside there. I have to wait for it to click or it'll come out crooked. There we go. And then we can push it down. Now we have our little eyelet set. Now then, I have a little piece of string that we'll use, but I'm going to put that on last. The next thing that we're going to do is put in our pages. Now, I didn't put very many pages because this does not have a very big spine. So, and I made them, like I said, this is 3 3/4 of an inch wide. So our papers we don't want them to be any bigger than that. Okay, these are my papers that I made. Some little ones, some short ones, some big ones, some tall ones. And we're just going to lay them in here and kind of center them up a little bit. Some of them are cut different. Some are torn. Some are cut with the scissors. We want it to, I made some a little small. I'm going to put this in here. I like to try, I'm going to put 3 holes in this spine, and I like to try to make sure that each piece is covered by at least 2 holes. Some of these smaller ones, they're not going to make it for all 3, of course, because they're tall. But if we can get 2 holes, that kind of secures and holds it better for me. We'll put one of these in here. This is just some primary writing paper, and I'm kind of centering it. Doesn't have to be centered. They can all be different. Okay, and then we have a little piece here. And that might be getting a little close to catch that one. Put this one in the center here. And then we'll put this one. My little 4-year-old grandson last night coffee dyed this for me. So he gets a little centered in one spot sometimes, but that's okay. He did a great job, and he had fun, and he helped Nina make her book. So we're going to put this on here for just a second, just to kind of help hold those together. I have some big ones, but I'm not going to get them. Okay, there's our papers, and they're going to fit in our book like this. Okay, now these kind of hold over a little bit. If they do and that bothers you, go in afterwards and tear them off a little bit, whatever you want to do with it. So, but for now, we are going to punch our holes and sew our spine into our book. I'm going to use this sort of a bronzy, browny kind of colored wax thread. It works really good for my binding. And like I said, I'm going to punch 3 holes, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. No big deal. I want this one to kind of be in the center, so we'll put it right there. We'll put one right there. Down about an inch. and up about an inch, give or take. Then we're going to start with the center hole and put it in this way. Hold our papers together. Bring it down. Come to the bottom from the back. And I've got my finger right over that hole, so when I come through, I'm going to poke myself. There we go. And then we're going to pull this one through and take this one all the way to the top, all the way to the top, and go back through that hole towards the back. And come on. There we go. We have that one. That's where we started. And then we're going to go down, back through this center one and try to make it come through on the other side. If it doesn't, just move it over. So we have one there. Let's make sure our string is pretty taut in the back. Pull this through. And we could go through there and tighten it up a little bit and save a little bit of this, but for no more than I'm going to be saving, it's not that big a deal. So then we're going to tie it here in the center, left over right, and pull it really taut. Then we'll come back and do right over left and tie a good knot. If you want to leave dangles, you could put a little charm or something here. I always leave it as if I'm going to put a charm, because I may change my mind later. I can always cut that off, but once I've cut it off, I can't put it back. So we have our pages now in our little journal. Okay, now I have folded some of these over. You could fold them and make pockets, or glue them and make pockets, or leave them as a fold out. I have not glued any of them. This one I didn't put a pocket on it. This one I did, and you could fold it out, or you could stitch it together and make a little pocket and put a little tag in there. That would be cute. And then you also have the inside of the covers to be able to use for journaling space. So when we got those tied in and taut, those are pretty close to good, so I'm going to leave them. Put that over here, get my string. Now, in the original that was done, the person that made it used that stretchy stuff and made a little stretchy band thing to go here, but I don't have any of that little stretchy stuff, so I'm just gonna make a tied one out of sort of an ivory-ish white sari silk remnants, and I'm going to pull it really tight here so that it stays. And then I'm going to take one string and tie it twice, take the other string and go the other direction and tie it twice, and then tie a little bow over here on the side. And we have a finished journal. Now, isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? So, all right. Now, this one is mine. It will go in my book. This one will be in our drawing for, which way did I go? Okay. The first one goes to the back, around twice. You can tie it however you want to, but this seems to work for me. And then tie it here. into a little bow. And this will be the book that's in the drawing. So I hope you've had fun today. I hope you enjoy our little book. Try making one on your own. They would be wonderful little Christmas gifts or gifts to give to family or friends or grandkids that are going on a trip. Perfect little gift. So that's our project for the day. So check out my other videos. Be sure to like if you like the video. Be sure to push that like button. Subscribe for me and share with everyone you know. And check out my online store. That is www.pinkdragonflywings.com. And we'll see you here next Monday. Bye. Have a great week.